You've been scrolling forums, watching endless best TV videos, and you're still not sure if you should spend a big chunk of money on a brand new screen that promises eye-popping colors and gaming-grade response times. You want something that fits into your living room without turning it into a tech showcase, that actually improves movie nights and weekend gaming sessions, and that won't feel like a gamble after the warranty expires. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started looking at the MPG 322URXDE QD-OLED, the first thing that made me pause was the price tag. QD-OLED panels are still relatively new, and they sit at the higher end of the market, so the question was simple: does the visual upgrade justify the cost compared to a solid LED or even a regular OLED? I dug through a handful of tech roundups, read a few community threads, and tried to separate the hype from the everyday experience. The result? A picture that's genuinely impressive for the right kind of user, but a set of trade-offs that could make it feel like overkill for most households. Let's start with who actually benefits from this TV. If you're a PC gamer who spends hours in fast-paced shooters or racing sims, you'll appreciate the low input lag that MSI has marketed for the MPG line. The QD-OLED panel's ability to change each pixel independently means there's virtually no motion blur, so you get crisp, fluid motion when you're tracking enemies across the screen. For home theater enthusiasts, the deep blacks and vibrant color volume that QD-OLED offers can make HDR content look richer than on a typical LCD. Imagine watching a nature documentary and seeing the night sky turn into a truly inky black while the stars pop with a subtle, natural glow. That's the kind of realism this panel can deliver. Now, who should probably walk away? If your TV time is mostly news, sitcom reruns, or occasional YouTube videos, you might not notice the nuanced differences that a QD-OLED brings. The same goes for families with small kids who are likely to leave static logos or channel logos on the screen for long periods. QD-OLEDs, like other OLEDs, can be susceptible to burn-in if static images linger. And if you're on a tight budget, there are plenty of 4K LED models that will handle everyday content just fine without the premium price. In practice, the biggest strength of the MPG 322URXDE is the picture quality when you actually look at it. The quantum dot layer sits behind the organic light-emitting diodes, pushing the color gamut farther out than a standard OLED. In a dimly lit room, you'll notice how red stays saturated without turning muddy, and blues stay deep without bleeding into purple. When I swapped a typical LED set for the QD-OLED in my own media room, the difference was most evident in scenes with a lot of contrast. Think of a city skyline at dusk or the explosion in an action film. The details in the shadows held up, and the bright highlights never felt blown out. Another practical upside is the HDR handling. While I can't quote a specific nit value, the panel's design means it can reach higher peak brightness than many OLEDs while still maintaining perfect blacks. That translates to a more realistic pop when you watch a high dynamic range movie on a streaming service that supports it. If you have a decent sound system or soundbar, the TV's visual performance becomes the centerpiece of an immersive night in. On the flip side, the reflective surface is something to keep in mind. QD-OLED panels tend to have a glossy finish, which looks great in a darkroom but can become a distraction if you have a lot of ambient light. I tested the TV in a bright kitchen during daytime cooking, and the reflections from windows and overhead lights were noticeable enough that they could compete with the picture. If you plan to mount this TV in a well-lit space, consider an anti-glare film or a room layout that minimizes direct light on the screen. The smart platform on the MPG 322URXDE is fairly straightforward. It runs MSI's own interface, which pulls in the major streaming apps. It's not as feature-rich as some of the bigger brands that have extensive app stores and voice assistant integration, but it does what you need: Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney+, and a basic web browser. If you're the type who likes to tinker with third-party streaming boxes or a dedicated media PC, the built-in platform won't be a showstopper. However, if you prefer a TV that acts as a complete smart hub out of the box, you might find the selection a bit limited. Connectivity is where this TV actually shines for gamers. It offers HDMI 2.1 ports that support 4K at 120Hz, which means you can plug in a next-gen console or a higher refresh rate PC and enjoy smooth gameplay without needing to downgrade settings. The inclusion of a variable refresh rate (VRR) feature helps eliminate screen tearing, a boon for competitive gamers who demand consistent frame delivery. I set up a PlayStation 5.